Words are very powerful forces of nature themselves, just as much as they describe nature. When looking into a thing, considering it, and wanting to know more about it or to feel the power of it, it is most powerfully felt, considered, of course, for all considerations are therein, in the mind. Everything is in the body. You could say that it is in the skull, the cranium, where the brain resides, or in your heart, your hands, your feet, your fingers, and your toes. All thoughts, if you really observe the world beyond your nose and consider how it is touching your being and the considering aspect of it, it is all a part of thought and mind, and is in mind, is touching the mind, and is touching the thoughts. Words, then, therefore, are powerful, especially the more words we come to know and understand that allow us to describe these very thoughts and feelings, which are surges, resonances, impulses, vibrations. Every vibration and feeling or inclination of the mind to have a question. All of these have answers if we have the right vocabulary, the lexicon, a book of knowledge within us which is simply verbiage, and understanding how to use that verbiage. Language is very important. One thing we have lost in the accumulation of many words in today's world, where now all are literate, we have become illiterate in knowing the language of the heart. What these emotions and these thoughts really mean, apart from language and the articulation and scientific developments of linguistics itself. We have become very analytical and rigid and acculturated. But if we break ourselves down to the base impulses which these words are built around, we have lost the understanding of that, the origin, our heart, our true mind and soul. But words are the power which we need to then therefore gain a conscious recognition of these impulses and these feelings, such as these words we converse about now, which are allowing us to meditatively reflect upon all these self-same things. We have a beginning, and we have an end, and it was already written in the consideration, and now we are only allowing time, through conversation, to unfold what is. When you ask a question and have a feeling and have a thought, the truth already is. You just need the time, and to spend the time in your mind with the words, to let that unfold before you, that you can then recount and rehearse the same thoughts and feelings again by word, and relay such thoughts and feelings to others, that it might be heard and known to them as well. Words are very powerful, but we do have to work with them. It is a metal, a stone in the earth, a gem which is most beautiful and precious. We have to dig, we have to cultivate it, we have to purify it. We have to remove the impurities as metal is smelt and broken down, what they call the dross, which rises to the top. We must remove the dross from the molten ore and metal and purify our souls. And we must do so in the furnace of our mind, the fire and flame of the light of truth, which is to take words and spend time meditating upon them with the light of a more noble perspective than our own, which we don't necessarily have at that moment we seek it, but just the simple desire and wish for it. It seems to come to us because the gods and the angels and the higher loving beings, they know our thoughts and they know our heart, and therefore they shine upon us and say, this one desires to rise higher. I shall illuminate the way if they trust. And and sit with me and bask in my rays. Much like when we go out in the day and receive strength from the sun, which, if you've ever been deprived of sun exposure, you'll find that great strength comes to your whole body, mind, spirit, and limbs as you become a natural creature again and bask in the light of the sky as a lizard or a serpent, even at certain times of the day, does for their own well-being. We are the same, and we again, through our sciences, our modern creations in the secular world, we have detached ourselves from the natural impulses to do these things, to bask in the sun or feed ourselves from this green grass here or there, for we've just never eaten the green grass to understand the impulse of what it's like and how it's perhaps a very necessary thing for our own being. We don't know how to incorporate the grass into our life, even though it's seen, because we've never eaten such a thing. Like the Word of God when it comes to us in our ear, but we've never spent time to meditate upon it and therefore consume and chew it down to gain understanding and wisdom upon the topic. So how, just because we know the Bible exists or this exists or that exists, if the greatest priests and greatest noblemen who spent their whole lives on such books and works don't fully understand it, then maybe you should attempt the bite and the chew and become wiser too. Certainly wiser than them if you can take it down and use the same literature to show them where they're wrong. What a wise soul to not simply discount without the ability to recount the same things in a more profound manner. What a waste of mind, spirit, and to say that you have knowledge and understanding over those who even perhaps know more upon a thing which they wish to understand, which might be nonsensical and nonsense, but God forbid you speak to that person and discount what they say when you have no ability to account of or recount anything in such same field and manner. Listen, learn, become wiser than they. Words are very powerful, but they reveal so much. They reveal how much we know and how much we don't know. How much a person has the ability to reflect on themselves and the world around them. And to one who has truly delved into the depths of their spirit, you only need 5, 7, 10 seconds with someone to go, they've only gone this far. I wish I could show them who they really are, who I am, who we all are. Yet, they are so far. I will bring them here, but they are where they are, and they must spend time to walk to where I am on the path of understanding by stepping with words, line upon line, as the scriptures say, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little. In other words, they have to read, they have to think, they have to meditate. It could take years, it could take a whole life before they can reach a mutual understanding with me, and perhaps it's only in the next life. Coming back to myself, though, words are very, very, very important. I can only know myself to the degree I have words. And I understand that I have changed accents as I've been speaking, and you'll find that I do this often because words are also an expression of a vibration. If you have difficulty stepping into a frame of mind beyond the one you constantly have habitually in time, I encourage you to change tonality, to change your accent, your form of expression, and try and hold and maintain that expression in mind and in body. Perhaps if you feel uncomfortable, go somewhere else where you're very alone and no one will hear you, and play with accents. And then try and speak about topics. Give an accent that you think sounds more educated, even with your own voice. Try and sound more educated and just speak about things you know. Try and sound more comical and speak about things you like to joke about. And see what happens. and roll with it and have fun with it and be like, wow, I really am smart. I just usually drop into a wavelength where I'm so used to expressing my voice where I'm actually internally down. My internal vibration is actually speaking speaking to myself negatively. No one knows that. And so when I vocalize myself, this is how my voice sounds. But oh my gosh, when I imagine a confident person and just try and speak about my normal topics confidently in a funny accent, I sound pretty cool. Or, you know, and we might then have a nervousness of showing up in that kind of confident, different tone, maybe a deeper voice, a higher pitched voice. We have a fear of perhaps showing up to others in those different tones because they don't understand that these fluctuations, which they could call different personalities if you're dropping into different accents all the time, it's really you understanding your different forms of expression and power. Me, I play with these enough in my own time so that I can kind of unify my different forms of confident expression through these linguistic forms of, I would call them art and psychological development. And so I can bridge it into my normal speech. But I love dropping into an English or some accent, which I love speaking to English people or Scottish people because they can pinpoint and tell me what parts of their country where I sounded like I was, had this colloquial accent, or I sounded like I had that colloquial accent, and how every 5 to 10 seconds I'm changing. But to me, I think it's unified because I'm not, I don't live out there. Anyhow, words themselves, yes, have a vibration too, and that's why they can change how you feel. Words are very powerful and important. Ending it here, we're going to go on later to talk about a few specific words. I just wanted to ramble very freely to entertain myself and you, but we're going to drop into a space and a place with the power of words and talk about how they can heal you, touch your soul, and I will convince you of this as I speak to your heart and speak to your mind with my own words which come through your ears. You'll hear them, and even though I'm speaking to you and your consciousness, your subconsciousness, you'll realize as I talk and say that I'm talking to your heart, as I say that I am speaking to your mind, not the one that's thinking, but the one that really wants to express itself all the time perfectly and beautifully, just like you want it to. But there's so much inhibition in the world and fear and developments which consume us and make our personalities turn left and right and not develop perfectly even before our own imaginative sight. I'm going to talk to that part, and we're going to bring that out and beautify it and connect to it. Speak calmly and bring peace to you and connect you back to yourself. Words are a magical influence because everything we do with them determines what we're doing. In other words, our intentions. My intention to speak to your heart and your mind, that is what determines what's going on. It reveals to you who I am as well, for the most part, in my off time, because I think and meditate about these things, about how when I meet people, this is what I want to do. And when you experience something with someone, it then therefore reveals to you what words are passing through the minds of other people around you. You don't need to know the exact words, but you see the actions, you see how they speak to you, you can then therefore know, wow, they don't meditate about the same imaginative, reflective world with the power of words and desire and will, which all is done with conscious understanding by the power of words. These people around me don't do it like that person. Because when this person shows up, we speak about these things and I feel this way, and it's good. and I want to do this or I want to do that. That's awesome.